From Boise to Middleton, the 5A and 4A Southern Idaho Conferences feature 20 of the largest schools in Idaho. Highlighting the big plays and big stories from Idaho's biggest schools, this is the SIC Prepcast with Wayne Dzubak.
That's right. It is another edition of the SIC Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down all that 5A, 4A Boise metro area action. Brandon Bainey joined by Wayne Dzubak. Wayne, what's going on?
Not a whole lot, man. I tell you what an interesting weekend we had. And I mean, we kind of wrapped it up in, in volleyball, we wrapped it up in cross country, and we're getting there now down to the, quarterfinals and semifinals and all that kind of stuff in football. So it's exciting.
Absolutely. So you can get this podcast each week a couple of different ways, audio only at our website, IdahoSports.com. Across the top of the homepage, you'll see the Prepcasts tab with a drop-down menu. You just click on SIC Prepcast, and it's right there for you. You can also download this podcast wherever you download your podcasts, Apple, Google, etc. If you want to watch the video, we do upload the video each week to the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, as well as our Facebook page. Now, Wayne, last week you were wearing the preppy look, the collared shirt. You're going casual today.
I am going casual today, but this is IdahoSports.com. Not everybody can get one of these t-shirts, man. It's not as big as the Masters where you get a green jacket, but Paul doesn't hand these out lightly. I'm talking Paul Kingsbury, our guru. He doesn't hand them out lightly. So, in fact, I think the way I got this is I stole it. I walked in the back room and it was there and I just stole it. So that's how you get these.
They'll dock that out of your paycheck, Wayne.
Yeah, I'm sure now that he knows, but he won't watch this. He won't watch this. So
yeah,
we'll be good.
We can say whatever we want here.
Exactly.
This is the safe space.
Exactly.
Right. Well, let's start with, you mentioned there were a couple of state championship events that took place, specifically right where you're at Eagle Island Park. Friday and Saturday we had the 2021 cross country championships, and at the 5A level, really no surprises. We thought the favorites team wise would come from the 5A SIC, and they certainly delivered.
Well, Boise's so tough. When they win district, when they lose their top three runners because they're playing in the state soccer tournament the week before, and they still win district handily, when they get those three runners back, we're talking Allie Bruce, Samantha Smith as the two top runners. Boy, I tell you what, they were something else. And you're right, I did. I kind of walked over to Eagle Island State Park and just kind of walked in there, walked around. Beautiful day for a cross-country meet. A lot of people there. They were on a delay of about a half hour because they couldn't get the timer to work. But once they got it going and Allie Bruce took off, man, she just dominated everything. 27 points is what they tallied. And for those who don't know about cross-country scoring, the fewer points you have, the better. It's like in golf, same thing. 27 points is astronomical. So Allie Bruce won it. I think her time was 17 minutes, 47.9 seconds, and just a few seconds behind her at 17:52 was Samantha Smith, her teammate. And they just kind of ran 1-2 the whole time. And to give you an idea, they won this thing with 27 points. Rocky Mountain girls, they were second, 113 points. So it wasn't even close.
It's just unheard of to have a score that low. Our contributing writer, Marlo Herford, did a great job of recapping all of the cross-country championship events. And she mentioned, this is the fourth title in a row for Boise High on the girls' side. First four-peat since Meridian did it from 1999 to 2002. They had 6 runners finish in the top 12. So half of the top 12 came from Boise High. And, of course, the sophomore duo of Allie Bruce and Sammy Smith go 1-2. Smith, like you mentioned, plays soccer as well as does her older sister, Logan Smith. And they ran 7 to 9 miles just between the semifinals and the championships. And then they had to turn around and also then compete. It was a wild week for those girls.
Yeah, and it's they're just great athletes. They get out there and they compete, and great team. Like you say, 27 points is just unbelievable when you get 6 of the top 12 in there. That's amazing what they did. So really impressed by what the Boise girls did, winning the 5A Girls State Cross Country Championship.
Yeah, and both Bruce and Smith didn't overtake the leader, Anastasia Peters, from Post Falls until the final 1,000 meters as well. So this was a late surge that gave Boise the win there. So on the boys' side, we thought coming in that Rocky Mountain was the favorite, Wayne, and they delivered on those expectations as well.
Yeah, they did. They're one of the top 10 teams in the country, and they did as well. I mean, they didn't dominate like everybody else did, but they, as a team, they're something else again. Trent Wygood was their top finisher. He finished in second place, so he set the pace for the Grizzlies, and the rest of it just kind of fell into place. They finished up here, the boys with 40 points, Idaho Falls 56, and then with Boise with 81. So again, the Boise guys finished third, the Boise girls finished first. I mean, even you got to get handed to the Brave. They've got quite a track and field and cross country program there at Boise High.
Yeah, and then at the 4A level on the boys' side, Bishop Kelly came close, but Blackfoot ultimately won the 4A boys title there. But wanted to recognize Bishop Kelly for a great cross country season as well.
Yeah, they did. They finished fifth, and stuff like that. What's interesting is that on the 4A side, it was the eastern part of the state that dominated because the girls Preston won, and it was Middleton sixth. So, basically you had BK fifth for the boys, Middleton sixth. Those were the top Western Valley SIC teams that made it through. But, so, I mean, you got to hand it to those Eastern schools. They really got her done. And congratulations to Blackfoot and Preston, respectively.
Absolutely. And really, I mean, as you go down 3A, 2A, 1, I mean, East Idaho cleaned up, which they usually do. They usually do, it seems like. So let's move on to the state volleyball tournaments. These were going on up north in Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls and Lewiston and Rathdrum. And we talked about the 5A tournament kind of being, this is kind of the Skyview's coronation, right?
Yeah, it was their tournament to lose. And what they did was they lost one set. They lost one match, not match, but one set in one match. And that was to Madison. And, Skyview just rolled as we expected they would. They're so highly ranked. We talked about them so much this year, how great they are on a national level. And here at Idaho, they just dominated. But they had to play Madison twice in the semifinals. And Madison went on and beat Eagle. Eagle finished third. And so Madison came back and played him again. And the only set the whole time that Skyview dropped was in the semifinals, that first set against Madison. But I'll tell you what, Skyview afterwards, their coach at Skyview said about Madison, hey, you take a look at the scores, and yes, we won all these sets. We lost that one, but Madison really gave us a hassle. They're a really good, solid team, and they played us tough. And even though we may have won 25-15, it was a lot closer than what maybe that final score would indicate in that particular set. So they laid a lot of accolades on Madison and the way they played.
Yeah, absolutely. For Skyview, you mentioned in that undefeated semifinal Saturday morning, they won 3-1, right? They dropped one set to Madison. That was the first and only time they dropped a set to an Idaho opponent this year. So
it's amazing. Is that amazing? That's why we said it's theirs to lose, and they weren't about to lose it. And you know what? You got to hand it to them, because I don't care how good you are. I mean, we saw, and we'll talk about it in a moment, a couple of upsets in football, specifically, Valley View over Minico, which was a shocker. So we'll talk about that. But Skyview could have gone out there and they could have had a bad day. But for them, there's never a bad day. They just keep going. That's how good they are. And then they just maintain that focus match after match after match. So they're pretty impressive.
And that really does start at the club level over there. I know there's a really good club program for Idaho, not just Skyview, but the best players in Idaho volleyball. And you're seeing more and more volleyball players go to not just Division I schools, but high ranking Division I schools, which is exciting.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's the thing. We see that in a lot of sports nowadays with club. If you get into volleyball, you're almost stuck with volleyball. If you get into soccer, you're almost stuck with soccer. That's why it was so great to see the gals from Boise. They went to the state soccer tournament and then came right back to the cross country. Now, cross country is a little different, but like if you get stuck in football, if you like football, you're pretty much going to have to play football, 24/7, 12 months a year. And that's just kind of what we've come to. So it's nice to see these crossover athletes and how good they are.
Absolutely. One last note on Skyview volleyball: Eden Bauer, who committed to BYU to play volleyball, 21 kills, 9 digs, 3 blocks in the title match win over Madison. And she is just one of, honestly, 7, 8, 9 players that could all, make an impact. So
it's amazing what they can do. I mean, they're amazing. That's basically all I can say. They're just unbelievable what they did. And they never get upset. They just don't get upset.
Yep. Well, you are tuning in to the SIC Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. Brandon Baney alongside Wayne Dzubak. It's brought to you by D.L. Evans Bank. This is community banking. Let's step aside and hear from our sponsors at D.L. Evans Bank, and then we'll come back and dive into all the craziness that happened in football last week, especially at that Class 4A level. That's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. So we'll be back in just a moment here on the SIC Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
Wherever you are, D.L. Evans Bank is right there to help. From applying for loans to opening new accounts and signing documents, personalized service is just a video call away. This is Bank Live with D.L. Evans Bank. This is community banking.
Welcome back to the SIC Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. Brandon Baney alongside Wayne Dzubak. We've got the updated brackets that we'll put up on the screen, kind of like we did last week, right? Where if you're watching the video, you can kind of follow along with the bracket. If you're listening to the audio, you can still get those brackets at our website, IdahoSports.com. We've got the updated brackets put up. I think we should start with the 4A ranks, Wayne, because that's where
you're calling the shots, buddy. You're the one with the big mic. You know, I'm just sitting here. I'm hanging out, man.
Big Mike, little Mike. Let's start with the 4A because I mean this was just bonkers. If you pull up this huge bracket here, and again, I think the first result that we really have to talk about is number 14 Valley View, one of the last at-large teams to get in, handing undefeated Minico their first loss of the season, and it wasn't like a close fluky. I mean, they won 28-12. Wayne.
Well, they did, and defense was the name of the game in that one because Valley View held Minico's offense to 92 yards rushing and 179 total yards offense. I mean, Valley View, you know, it's kind of like the NCAA basketball tournament where a 14 seed goes against a 3 seed. You go, hey, watch out for those. Those could be dangerous. Well, it was very dangerous for Minico. Minico was undefeated coming into that game. Nobody saw this one coming. Valley View had struggled on and off on the year. Valley View 6-4 on the season. They really had struggled at times and not looked very well. But boy, I tell you what, they just got her done against Minico, and that was at Minico. So wow.
Yeah. So for Valley View, we talked about all year that they're a team that likes to run the football, and if they can control the clock and do what they want to do, they can be an effective team. Santi Diaz, their quarterback, he had 2 rushing touchdowns and a passing touchdown as well. And so Valley View 6-4, moving on to the quarterfinals. Second year in a row that they have been in the playoffs. Last year, they lost a tough first-round matchup with Blackfoot, so it's nice to see Coach Coffin and the Falcons advancing to the second round. The next most surprising result to me was 13th seeded Nampa knocking out 4th seeded Emmett. Now, when these two teams met in the regular season, Emmett won 40-30. And so we both kind of thought last week that, hey, you know, Nampa's got a chance and they're a dangerous team. Well, Nampa wins 37-29, and Emmett, the state runner-up from a year ago, and Dunzo in the first round.
Now you're not listening to me. I told you that. I've been a fan of Nampa all year long. They were my dark horse to begin with, and then I was a little disappointed because they weren't going strong. But I said last week, watch out. I said Emmett probably should win that game because it's at Emmett, but I would not count Nampa out in any stop. And they did. They won their 5th straight game. They're 6-4 on the year now. Wow. I tell you what, man. I got to hand it to Nampa. They're getting it done. I'm just really impressed with – they just got the confidence now that they had last year at the end of the year, and they're bringing it strong right now.
Nampa did to Emmett what Emmett has done to so many other teams over the past 2 years, where they got out to a lead early and then ran the ball, and Emmett just could not stop the run. When you look at the backfield duo of Daniel Carrillo, he had chipped in 134 yards and a touchdown. That's a tough two-headed monster in the backfield there for Nampa.
Yeah, well, Navarro didn't have those numbers. I mean, Gabe Navarro, he's something else again, a quarterback, so he can hurt you with his legs, hurt you with the arm. Nampa's just got it all together. It's going to be interesting to see how they do because now they were on the road last week at Emmett, but that was a short trip. Now they got to take the trip over to Blackfoot, so that's going to be a tough one. Broncos are always tough.
And for Emmett, you know, a season where they came in with high promise and a lot of hopes to get back to that 4A championship game really just kind of got derailed in the last 2-3 weeks. And again, you thought with that big win over Middleton, this was the kind of program defining win that could really
They really weren't. I mean, I don't, it's one of those things you can't. I mean, really, Emmett had the talent to win it, and they probably should have won that game. But this is why they played. I can say the same thing for Minico. Minico was undefeated when they played Middleton earlier this year. It's the first time we had a chance to see them here in the Valley. They were dominant. They looked great the whole bit. But boy, I tell you what, playoff time, anything can happen. That's why they play these games, and that's what makes them fun.
Absolutely. Well, the third team to advance from the SIC in the opening round of the 4A playoffs was Bishop Kelly. And we came into this 7-10 matchup. BK was the 7 seed. Twin Falls was the 10 seed. And I thought this game would be close. But Bishop Kelly really showed, hey, and Bishop Kelly has shown that we're not a team that just runs the ball anymore, right? They had a couple of passing touchdowns. And if they can show that kind of balance moving forward, they're going to be a tough out as they defeat Twin Falls 49-21.
Yeah, Bishop Kelly's getting tougher and tougher as the season goes. It's a case of a team, started the year, they weren't sure what they had, and they just keep getting better and better and better. And then, of course, because the way Max Preps does things, they got kind of the short end of the stick as far as the rankings and seedings went. I think they should have been seeded a little bit higher, but they got what they got, and maybe that gave them the momentum they needed, because they took it right to number 10 Twin Falls with that 49-21 win. And now, I mean, they got to go against a tough Pocatello team at Holt Arena, and that's going to be a challenge.
That's not another solid day on the ground, 196 yards, 4 touchdowns. I think he's getting close to 2,000 yards on the season, Wayne, which is
Guy's unbelievable. I mean, he just does it every time. He's consistent, makes it happen. Seth Knott, he's won our Gold Star a couple of times. I mean, he's out there, and as long as he's healthy and running strong, BK has got a chance in every game.
Yeah, and Jason Buss, who's really coming on as a wide receiver for Bishop Kelly, caught 2 touchdown passes as well. So like we said, this isn't the BK from old where they just line up in the Maryland eye and pound it at you. They can beat you a number of different ways.
Well, they're doing a good job right now. And like I say, they are probably one of the top teams to watch.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at the matchups for this quarterfinal round, Wayne. In terms of SIC competition, 13th seeded Nampa, because they're the 13 seed, Wayne, they're probably on the road for most of their playoff run.
Oh, yeah. Well, they play at Blackfoot, like you're going to say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they travel to Blackfoot, the 5 seed overall. Now, this is a Blackfoot team that you can't look at that 5 seed and say, oh, yeah, they're the 5th best team, right? They only got the 5th seed because they won their district. They had a really up and down regular season. Right. And so, I don't know. I kind of think Nampa could go to Blackfoot and knock off the Broncos. What do you think?
I agree. I think Nampa can do it. I think Nampa's got the talent. There's no question. And again, I get down to the fact that I think traveling is not something these teams are used to from the SIC, because there's so many teams in the 5A and 4A SIC that they don't have to travel. They don't get used to it. They play right here in town. A big travel for them is maybe 15 miles, if that. So, having to travel across the state and play Blackfoot is a little tough. So how they handle it, we'll see. But I tell you what, they were my dark horse in the beginning. I thought they could make some noise, and they're starting to make noise. And I would not be surprised if they upset the Broncos.
There's weeks where Blackfoot looks like the best team in the state, and then there are weeks where I wonder how they got to 4 wins. So it's all about Jekyll and Hyde, whichever Blackfoot team shows up.
I hear you.
Yep. Okay, let's talk about, you mentioned Bishop Kelly. Traveling to Holt Arena to play Pocatello, the 2nd seeded Thunder. I think being inside the dome actually helps Bishop Kelly out a little bit. Certainly helps Pocatello out because they like to throw the ball around. So I could see this being whoever can get out to the lead and kind of protect it might be the favorite here.
Yeah, Pocatello beat Bonneville in the first round 24-7. So Pocatello, got through their first round, no problem at all. And I've always felt, as you know, having gone to Idaho State, played there and played in the dome and whatnot. I know what it's like having covered games in the dome. I really favor teams that like to play in the dome. Pocatello, Highland, those guys, I always feel like they have, the edge when the game is in Holt Arena. So I think Pocatello may win that game. But you know what? I still think the Thunder has to stop. They've got to stop Knight, or not rather. They've got to stop him, and nobody's been able to do that. So we'll see what happens.
Pocatello's defensive line is speedy but undersized. So if Bishop Kelly's offensive line can kind of do what they want to do. Could be a long night for Pocatello. The other interesting thing is
I was going to say one thing on that, and that's what the Knights do now. They can control the game. So if they can control that line of scrimmage, Brandon, they will shorten that game down. They will run, and even though they can pass, they will run some more. They'll shorten that game down. Pocatello's opportunities on offense, possession-wise, may be limited.
Yes, I agree with that. And for Pocatello, this is a chance to exercise those demons. Last year, Pocatello went into the final week of the regular season only needing to beat Century to win the conference title. They lost that game. Because of that, got seeded 11th overall. They went from a 4 seed to an 11 seed, and they had to travel to Bishop Kelly in the opening round of the playoffs. They got skunked. And so for Pocatello, they've actually been wanting this matchup for some time. They want Bishop Kelly, and we'll see if they can deliver.
And there goes that thing when I say what works going from west to east also works going from east to west. You know, the travel is miserable here in the state, and it always favors the home team. So that's why I'll have to lean on Pocatello. But I tell you what, I like BK's chances.
Yeah, and of course, the first time in Holt Arena is always a little daunting as well. It can be an intimidating place to play if you've never been in there. Pocatello's been in there for several weeks now, so. The final 4A matchup in the quarterfinals is Valley View traveling to Skyline. This will be a game inside Holt Arena as well, Wayne. And Skyline, man, I'm telling you, I did that game last Friday where they played Lakeland. And if you look at the final score, you would just see, 42-21. They cruised. They didn't. They trailed almost the entire way. They didn't take the lead until the fourth quarter, and then it was kind of a cascade of points. But Skyline really kind of sleptwalked through that game, and they can't afford to do that against Valley View.
And that one's on Saturday night, so everybody's going to have an extra day for that game, to kind of prepare, extra day to do what you want to do. So that game's Saturday night, 7 o'clock in Holt Arena. But again, you got Valley View making the long trip over there. I know Skyline out of Idaho Falls is going to have to come down to Idaho Falls, but not a big trip. But you know what? They have played there, but that's not their home field. So it's not like it's a home field advantage like it is for Pocatello and Highland, things like that. So it could flip the thing, but Valley View, whatever they did against Minico, they're going to have to redo. It's going to be.
Well, they held that vaunted Minico rushing attack to less than 100 yards on the ground. They're going to see the opposite this week, where Minico is a team that just pounds you up the middle for the most part. Skyline's got a really speedy backup, Bron Silverio, who wants to get out on the edges. So those defensive ends and outside linebackers are going to be crucial for Valley View in this matchup. And then then you're right in the ball game. So.
Yeah, so we'll see what Valley View can do. If they're used to some of that option football where you go out to the sideline to sideline. So if they can pinch everybody in, like you're saying, and keep everything between the tackles, that's going to make it a little bit easier for them. But I always go with the home team. I always do. I mean, I just feel like that's the favorite in this one. Plus Valley View, up and down. I was shocked that they beat Minico.
I was as well. I think they are on borrowed time now. And again, I would love to be wrong. I would love to come back next week and wear it and say, hey, I was wrong.
Absolutely. Well, and people, we don't root for anybody. We just have a fun time. We enjoy it all. And when we see these upsets, we're as amazed as anybody else. And it's fun. And we love to talk about it. It gives us something to jabber about. So it's a lot of fun. But, bottom line is that I just want them to be a good game. The nice thing about Holt Arena, the weather is going to be perfect.
That's right. One final storyline with that Valley View game is Lane Coffin, their head coach, is kind of returning to his old stomping grounds, right? He was the first head coach in school history at Century High School when that opened in 2000, won a couple of state championships there. So he knows Holt Arena really well. And so be a little homecoming of sorts for Coach Coffin.
Yep, it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. 4A is going to be a lot of fun this week.
Yep. 5A, I think, is going to have some fantastic matchups as well as we put the 5A bracket up on the board. Let's start with, there wasn't really anything truly compelling. I guess the most surprising thing I think that shocked a lot of people was Capital going up to Lewiston and turning back the Bengals 44-13. But you weren't really surprised by that, Wayne.
No, let me say that right away. I'm not surprised at all. I think Capital is extremely talented. Their problem is their roster is short. By that I mean they don't have a lot of players. The players they have are really, really good, but basically they play a lot to both sides of the ball, offense and defense. And if they have any injuries at all, they're in trouble. But they are a good team. They shocked me this year earlier when they lost 35-0 to Meridian. I was like, what just happened there? There's no way. That should have been, not that they shouldn't have lost to Meridian, but that should have been a close game. Should have been right down to the wire. And since then, they have been on fire. So I think that lit the fire underneath them. Todd Simmons is retiring after whenever his last game is this year. He's done after all those years. I want to say 18, but I can't remember if I'm totally correct. But after all those years at Capital High School, I think that has lit a fire underneath Capital. So watch out, Capital going at Rigby. I like Rigby. I liked Rigby last year. I think Rigby's tough at home. And so I'm going to go with Rigby winning that game against Capital. But I tell you what, man, the Eagles should give them a tussle.
Absolutely. They totally dominated Lewiston. They sacked Lewiston 9 times in that game Friday night. They held Cruz Hepburn, the All-State running back, in check. And if the defense can play like that again for the second week in a row, they'll be right in it. The last time Rigby played was 2 weeks ago. They got upset by Madison, and they've had 2 weeks to stew on that. I think if they had played last Friday, it would have been better for Rigby. But now with 2 weeks to sit and think about that, I don't know. Sometimes mentally it can do things to you. So we'll see. Speaking of Madison, they had to travel to Meridian to take on the Warrior. And this was kind of a back and forth game for a while. It wasn't until the second half that Meridian really pulled away in this one, 47-28.
Yeah, I tell you what, Cross Antonacci, 3 touchdowns in that ball game. Malachi Martinez played well. He's strong and he's 100% now. He hasn't been 100% all year, the quarterback for Meridian, Malachi Martinez. I mean, we've seen his brother Zeke playing a lot. I did about 3 games this year. And of course I did. What's ironic is that I did the first game of the year, Meridian, Mountain View. And these 2 guys we'll talk about in a second play again Friday night. And I'm going to be doing that game on IdahoSports.com. But it was a 14-13 ball game right down to the wire. That's where Malachi got hurt. He got hurt on the series before the final series where Meridian had it, trying to set up their field goal to win it. I still contend it was a good field goal. It was just missed right over the top of the upright. So the officials called it no good. But it's going to be another game like that, and I'll get into that in a minute. But for Meridian, congratulations, because, Brandon, that was their first playoff win in 14 years.
Yeah, I think it was their first win since 2007. The last time they won in the playoffs was when they won the state championship
exactly.
in 2007.
Exactly, yeah.
It's been nice to see Meridian kind of have this renaissance, right? And it really started last year where Rocky Mountain and Mountain View are kind of the 2 new kids on the block in Meridian, right? They're the newer schools. They've been collecting all the trophies as of late. But last year with Meridian, you saw it in wrestling and in boys basketball where they won state titles. And if they could add a football to that here over the last 2 years, I think that would be so great for Meridian, one of the original, the original high school in Meridian, to kind of have this renaissance going.
Yeah, and what people don't realize about Meridian is not only did they have the quarterback, not only did they have Cross Antonacci, the running back, they've got a great bevy of wide receivers. They got 3 or 4 wide receivers that are big. They're 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". They're huge. I mean, some college guys would want these guys. They also have a great big line defensively. They've got some big guys, 6'4", 260, things like that. So they are monsters. They come off the bus and you go, whoa. That's an NFL team. So they're good. They're on a roll. They feel confident. So watch out. Meridian could be on a roll. And, Mountain View could have their hands full Friday night.
Yeah, this is the game by far in the 5A ranks, maybe in the entire state. Meridian at Mountain View. Do you have a thought of how this might go, Wayne? What do you think it'll come down to?
You know what? I have a lot of thoughts on it, and really the fact that it's at Mountain View, I like what Mountain View does. Quintez Evans, is something else. If Meridian can control, you can't stop Quintez Evans, but if they can control him, I think Meridian has a chance for the upset. I really do. They're playing that well right now, 7-3. They're really got things going. And of course, the other thing is that Mountain View's had a week off that allows you to rest up the whole bit. But sometimes that week off is like a hiccup. Sometimes it's good during the middle of the season, but not so much, at the end of the season. They're coming off a big win over Rocky Mountain where they looked really impressive. Second time they beaten Rocky Mountain, this year. That's never happened before. So Mountain View's got everything going for them. Dawson Wall, good quarterback, the whole bit. And, I like Mountain View at home. I really do. But, boy, I'm telling you what, I think if Malachi Martinez plays the way he can, Mountain View is going to be in for a tussle.
Yeah, I am actually kind of leaning Meridian in this one because you can just see it. The talent is there. It's just will it all come together for a game? And so I think this is the week. I think Meridian knocks out Mountain View, and because Mountain View's been playing with fire for a couple weeks now, right? Low scoring, defensive type games. They're undefeated. Each passing week, the pressure becomes larger and larger to stay undefeated. So I don't know.
Yeah, they kind of stayed on the ground a little bit. Quintez Evans, like I said, in the 2 wins against Rocky Mountain, they relied on Evans. He had 183 yards rushing in one game, 185 in the other. So that's pretty much consistent in my book. And, a couple of touchdowns, one game, 3 touchdowns the last game. So, yeah, he's been pretty good. But and part of the problem is that they've relied on that game to shorten the game, run the clock down, control the ball, control on offense, give the other team less possessions. Meridian's a lot more explosive. They come up with a lot more big plays. And if they come up with a couple of big plays, we'll see. You remember, you go back to the first time they met, it was Meridian that jumped off to a 13-0 lead. And then it came down to the third quarter where Mountain View scored 2 touchdowns, took the 14-13 lead. Other than that, there was no scoring in the fourth quarter at all. So you can see it was like spurts here and spurts there. It was like, okay, 2 prize fighters going at each other. So it's going to come down to who makes a mistake, maybe a big turnover. And because I think this one is like a toss-up. I really think it's too even to call. And I'm going to give Mountain View the edge because they're at home. But, boy, 1 turnover could turn this game around.
Yeah, it's going to be such a great game, and we'll be tuned in to hear you on the call on IdahoSports.com. Let's talk about Eagle. They were playing Bora in a matchup of SIC opponents, 31-15. But this is a game Eagle really had on lockdown from the start.
Yeah, they did. I mean, you know what? Bora came out, and Bora put on almost a 7-minute drive to score and take a 7-0 lead, and I went, I'm in. But then they shut down Parker Rushton, Eagle did, the great running back for the Bora Lions, and they just kind of kept going. They've got so many weapons. Jack Benson's a good quarterback, solid quarterback. In fact, I gave him our player of the game simply because he spread it around so much that there was nobody that had like 3-4 touchdowns or had a great game. He basically distributed the ball to a lot of different people. So Jack Benson, the quarterback, was my player of the game. He runs the team well. I like what Eagle does, but again, you're talking about a trip up north, and there's no easy road to Coeur d'Alene. I don't know how they go, whether they go through the windy thing through Moscow, if they go over onto the Washington side and up, the interstate, but there's no easy way to get to Coeur d'Alene. It's a long bus trip, and Coeur d'Alene has been waiting for them. Coeur d'Alene 6-2, the Vikings ready to take on, the Eagle Mustangs.
That is the one true most difficult home field advantage in 5A, right? It's Coeur d'Alene.
I agree. And you never know what the weather's going to be like up there at that time. I mean, today is beautiful out there. I'm sitting here going, wow, it's November. Are you kidding me? But by Friday, who knows? It could be snowing in Coeur d'Alene. So
that's right. A little different climate up north for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Eagles showed that versatility. You mentioned it. Not a single player scored more than 1 touchdown for Eagles. So they really, Jack Benson and Ian Duarte and Deegan Martineau and Brandon Reese, Roy Hall, Ethan Cutler, they all contributed. And if Eagle has that type of versatility, it might be tough for Coeur d'Alene to stop.
Yeah. By the way, Deegan Martino went out with an injury, and so he was out, and Freeman came in, replaced him. But I'm telling you what, so if he's not ready to go, that could be a big factor in the ball game in favor of Coeur d'Alene, because Deegan Martino is a really good running back. But you're right, exactly what I said about Jack Benson. That's why I made him the player of the game. He just distributed the ball to everybody. So there wasn't one standout star. There was a bunch. And you mentioned one name that I didn't mention, Ian Duarte. Oh, that kid has got some moves, dude. If you better know where he is all the time, and better have somebody else. You better have your pants buckled on, because you could end up having them on the field there.
Yeah, he came from California, and his parents moved into the Eagle area, and so they're happy to have him. So,
what else is new out here? Everybody's coming from California, moving to Eagle.
Right, exactly. Well, and Coeur d'Alene gets that too up north, but it's Washington.
Do they? So. Yeah, they keep it down on the down low a little bit, huh?
Right. So the final matchup is Highland at Rocky Mountain. So Skyview, I did this game, Wayne. Skyview went to play Highland in Holt Arena, 45-28. Skyview, I was really impressed with the passing game. I thought that Camden Young did really well as a receiver. Tarek Pennington nearly had 200 yards receiving. And I thought that their quarterback really distributed the ball well, but they just a couple of key turnovers in the second half. They had a fumble and then an interception, and that's kind of what swung it Highland's way. I was prepared to give the IdahoSports.com Player of the Game award to Tarek Pennington, who was on the losing team, because he had 3 touchdowns receiving, 196 yards receiving, but late in the game, things got chippy and he lost his cool for a second and popped a couple of guys and actually got ejected from the game. And it was such a terrible way to see that game end for him. It was a battle on both sides, and they were pushing and shoving all night. So,
well, there's no question Skyview's talented. You were talking about their quarterback, Max Cutford. He had 3 touchdown passes, 352 yards passing. I mean, if you told me that Cutford threw for 352 yards and 3 TDs, I would have said Highland didn't have a chance. And bottom line, but they won it 45-28, as you mentioned, and now have to for that effort, they have to go to Rocky Mountain. So congratulations, Highland, you get to travel to Rocky Mountain. So.
This is another one I think is dangerous for Rocky personally.
I do too. I agree. I did that. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. I think it was last year that Highland played Rocky, and I did that game and went right down to the wire. And it was a cold, rainy night, and it was miserable. And I'm an old guy, and I was freezing. The last quarter, I was sitting there going, he's gonna win. I was freezing, but it was right down to the wire, and Rocky won that one. Boy, I tell you what, I agree with you. I think it's a dangerous, dangerous foe for Rocky Mountain, the Highland Rams.
This is a rematch of that week 0 battle in Holt Arena that Rocky won 12-7. And really, I mean, that game came down to Steeker had the 95-yard touchdown that really won it for Rocky Mountain. Otherwise, Highland probably wins that game 13-7. So, or 7-6 or whatever. But so the rematch is going to be interesting. Highland, if you can stop Jack Whitmer, their quarterback, everything runs through him. He throws the ball. The running game starts with him. So if you can shut him down, then Highland's toast. But he's good. So
yeah, and just like Rigby, you were talking about Rigby, their last game was a loss. They had to wait 2 weeks now. Same thing here with Rocky. Their last game was a loss to Mount View, so they've had to wait 2 weeks. So one of two things, they've had to sit there with that sour taste in their mouth for a couple of weeks. Either they're going to come out on fire, they're going to come out flat, one of the two. So both Rigby and Rocky in the same kind of boat.
I think this is going to be another one of those, we call them blackjack games, where neither team gets to 21. 15, hit me. 16, I'll stay.
Really?
I think it's going to be low.
I think they'll get to 21, but I think it's going to be like one of those 24, 21 ball games, something like that. I think it's going to be right in that low 20s, that area. So it'll be interesting to see. And, the weather's still supposed to be okay. A little rain on Thursday, but nothing on Friday. So I think they're going to have good weather. The fields will be in great shape for both the games over here, for the Mountain View game and the Rocky Mountain game. So weather-wise here in the Valley on Friday night should be good.
Yeah, well, we'll keep an eye on how everything goes this week. We could have the possibility of an all-SIC Final Four. How fun would that be to talk about, Wayne?
Well, that'd be kind of cool. And that's the other thing I wanted to point out. You got 5 of the 8 teams are 5A SIC, but then you got 2 matched up against each other, right off the get-go. So you got Meridian and Mountain View. So it only counts kind of like 4, but you do have 5 teams technically, in the quarterfinals. So that's pretty impressive. So a pretty impressive season. Tells you what the kind of football has been played over here this year.
Yeah, I think it's been proven once again that, the 4th or 5th best team from Boise can stack up against the second team from the north or the east just fine.
They can this year for sure.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll have plenty more to talk about on next week's edition of the SIC Prepcast as we get ready for the semifinal round. Again, Wayne, going out on a limb here, I feel confident saying at least one SIC team will advance to the semifinals.
Well, I tell you what, man, you ought to go to Vegas more often because I'm sure you have those safe bets, man. I tell you what. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think it's going to be interesting how it goes. And obviously, as you know, Meridian or Mountain View will advance. So, Mr. What am I trying to call you there? Going out on a limster. We'll have that. So it's going to be fun. And it will be fun to see if we have, how many teams from the 5A SIC make it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun for sure. So come on back next week. We'll have more football to break down for you as we get ready for the semifinal round of the postseason. But first, we got all these great quarterfinal matchups. Now, there are going to be, again, not every game we're going to be able to cover on IdahoSports.com
Right.
because there's 6 classifications, 4 games in each one. That's 24 games, unless we can clone ourselves, Wayne. Which
I don't know how we do that.
yeah,
And I don't know if a lot of people want to clone me. That's for sure.
right. So, but we've got about 80 to 85% of the games covered. It's only a small handful that we don't. So if you want to see which games we're covering, the easiest way to do it is to go to the game streams tab on IdahoSports.com. You'll see the entire broadcast schedule for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday on IdahoSports.com. So,
And you've got games, I think, don't you have games Thursday, Friday, and Saturday?
I do. I do. This time of year, everybody wants to play in Holt Arena. So
I only have Friday's game, Mount View and Meridian. So that's all I've got, but because I've got to do that Boise State, Fresno State pregame show on Saturday. So unfortunately, I can't do one more. But I'm looking forward to the weekend, looking forward to everything. And you know what? The best way to follow what's going on is right here on IdahoSports.com.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll have those brackets updated in real time as we get the results as well. So, yeah, keep checking back to IdahoSports.com. All right, we'll see you back here next week on another edition.
Gold Stars.
Oh, yeah. Wow. We almost got out of here. Look at this. I almost forgot. Yeah, it's time to hand out our Gold Stars.
That's why you got me here.
That's right. That's why we pay you the big bucks, Wayne. We do this at the end of each show where we hand out our Gold Star to our most noteworthy performer from the past week. They get a little helmet sticker. So you want me to go first, Wayne?
Sure, go first.
Okay, well, I'm going to go back to the Capital football team, going up to Lewiston and earning that win. 9 sacks from the Capital defense. 5 of them came from Cody Walk, who is getting more and more interest from big-time colleges for his services as a defensive end and possibly a tight end or H-back as well. So he had 5 sacks on defense. And then on offense, he also chipped in 2 rushing touchdowns and 76 yards on the ground. So Cody Walk walking in style for Capital.
Yeah, Cody Walk is just a stud. Every time I watch him play, he does a great job. And he's one of the reasons why I think Capital has a really good chance against Rigby. He is a tough one to stop. My gold star, though, I'm going to go back to cross country. I'm going to go back to Friday when I sat there and I watched Allie Bruce take and lead the Boise Brave to victory for the girls. What a great job she did winning that one. Samantha Smith was second, but Allie Bruce, just a great job. Her time was 17 minutes, 47.9 seconds. Got it done. And, when you score 27 points, that's all. That's a fantastic, deal. And after coming off all the soccer stuff and then coming right in there and jumping into the cross-country state final, she was impressive. She gets my gold star. And again, a shout out to the Boise Brave girls cross-country team, state champs.
Well, and Allie Bruce also beating Sammy Smith, who I think is the best distance runner in Idaho, is also and her teammate. That's also a big accomplishment. So
it is absolutely. I mean, when you that says it right there about how good this team is when you got that going for yourself.
Yep. All right. Well, congratulations to Allie Bruce and Cody Walk, our Gold Star winners. We'll hand out more Gold Stars next week and talk about all these crazy quarterfinal games in the SIC as well. Thanks for tuning in to the SIC Prepcast, brought to you by D.L. Evans Bank. This is Community Banking. For Wayne Dzubak, I'm Brandon Baney. We'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.